This is a Rough Tiger production.
And you, and you, and you, and you were there. Some of it wasn't very nice, but most of it was beautiful.
Recording in progress. Hi, Bryan.
Howdy. How goes it?
It is going well. Hello, everybody out there listening to us. This is Dream Idiots.
Yes, indeed.
And
we are back.
Each week, Bryan and I tell each other stories, and you are along for the ride. I have no announcements this week, Bryan. How about you? Are you good?
I have no announcements this week. It feels like we will have some fun things to announce here reasonably soon, but not yet. Rolling out some new fun things here in the next few weeks, but we're not quite there yet.
All right. Well, let's chug along and say thanks for the reviews and thanks for liking and subscribing to our stuff. Where you can find us. Where can you find us, Bryan?
On Facebook and Instagram, we're at Dream Idiots. We're on pretty much every platform out there these days. You can email us at dreamidiotspodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to do us a review, shoot us a 5-star rating. That'd be fabulous on whichever platform you're listening. We'd really appreciate it. Have some new reviews in here recently, and that really helps us out, helps us climb the chart. So we appreciate it.
Yes, indeedy. Thank you for that, Bryan. It is episode 67. It's an odd numbered episode, which means you get to start us off this week. What you got for us?
Okay, so I have a selection of stories I'm going to be rolling out over time, over the next few months, that are mostly biographical pieces of people who are famous for more than one reason. I'm trying to come up with like a title for what these are called, like double threat stories, or I'm not sure what the best term would be to use. But sometimes it's multiple good reasons, sometimes it's multiple bad reasons, sometimes it's a mix of both. But I have a few of these profiles that will come out over the course of this year. Some examples of people that qualify in this category, which I'll mention here only because we will never probably cover them here. O.J. Simpson doesn't really require explanation why he has multiple stories about him. Good football player, also good at running through terminals, but airport terminals and doing TV commercials, but nothing else, right? And no other bad reason.
Not to my knowledge. Nope.
Right now, a fine, upstanding human being. Thomas Midgley is a name you may have heard before. He's the guy who discovered that adding lead to gasoline eliminated knock, and then years later also discovered chlorofluorocarbons. So he's a man who who double dipped and single-handedly caused all kinds of environmental problems, and probably lots of people died of cancer because of him. So go Google Thomas Midgley. It's a train wreck. Another example would be you may or may not know this. So Edmund Hillary summited Everest with
Tenzing Norgay.
Tenzing Norgay, but then later on after that, he was convinced that he was going to be the person to find Bigfoot and demonstrate that Bigfoot was real. So one good, one maybe not so good, or at least peculiar. So this story is, as you'll see, is a little bit mixed. I'm going to be talking about a man named Jerome Irving Cohen. He was born August 16th, 1898 in New York. His family were Orthodox Jews from Poland originally. The original family name had been Lakowski, and he was raised with his brother Joseph in the tenements in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. His family ran a grocery store, and he was a first-generation American. He did not get along well with his father, and later changed his name from Cohen to Rodale, Rodale, as sort of an ode and honor to his mother. Her maiden name was not Rodale, something very close. His brother did the same. And Jerome was concerned that anti-Semitism at the time would be a factor in maybe holding his career back. Probably a justifiable concern. So then, so therefore, Rodale is better than Cohen. As a young adult, he took night classes in accountancy. He worked as an accountant for 3 years from 1970 to 1920. Briefly worked for the IRS from 1920 to 21. He and his brother Joseph co-founded Rodale Manufacturing. They made electrical equipment in New York City in 1923. Later, he married his wife Anna in 1927, and she actually didn't pass away until the year 2000. She lived to be the ripe age of 95, and they had 3 children, Robert, Nina, and Ruth. But going back a bit, Rodale, as a very young man, was worried about his health, and he had been rejected from service in the Army during World War I because he had just fucking terrible eyesight. And shortly thereafter, it was also discovered he had a heart murmur. So he started focusing rather extensively on his health and read quite a bit of the works of a man named Bernard McFadden. Is a name you may have come across before. McFadden was an early advocate for exercise and was kind of a loon in his own right. He spelled his first name, I think he spelled his first name Benarr, Bernard, because it sounded like the roar of a tiger. Like, okay, you're nuts. Yeah, so Google him as well. He's a little bit bonkers. During the Great Depression, the family business has moved from New York to Pennsylvania to cut costs. Same year, he founds Rodale Press, and he starts marketing books and magazines. Around this time, he starts focusing even more on health and fitness and the benefits of active lifestyles, and now starts to develop an interest in organically grown food. And so this is where his contributions to modern society really start to take off. 1940, he founds Rodale Organic Gardening Experimental Farm, and shortly thereafter adds to that Organic Farming and Gardening magazine. 1945, he writes a book called Pay Dirt. This is a book that I actually remember seeing. It was either in my house as a kid or in a relative's house as a kid. And this was essentially the first book that advocated the amazing uses and benefits of compost and how you could use it in home gardens. He was a fervent defender of the idea that fertilizers and pesticides, Roundup, Monsanto, all that crap, may actually be bad for you. So all the things that we are subjected to this day, and he started to advocate that they needed to be eradicated to improve health. I read recently somewhere that Idaho russet potatoes are held these days in dry storage for 5 months after they are harvested, solely in order to off-gas all of the shit that's on them, because they're that toxic.
Oh,
right. So he was 100% accurate on all of these fronts, and he was mocked, pretty well derided pretty thoroughly in the 40s and 50s for a lot of his beliefs. But it was when Pay Dirt came out in 45 that someone dubbed him, he probably dubbed himself this, but he started being known as Mr. Organic, and was pushing the view that atomic bombs had fallout, but chemical reactions on food had fallout as well. So 1950 rolls around, he rolls out Prevention Magazine. This is the first publication that really starts to advocate on an ongoing basis this notion. Again, I judge for the first time ever that it was possible for diseases to be prevented, that you weren't just, an affliction wasn't just something that happened to you. You could actually get in front of it. Heretofore, the notion of disease was something that was just inevitable and outside your control. You got whatever you got and you had no control. This publication starts pushing the idea of whole grains are good for you. You should limit sugars. You should limit fat. He loved herbal medicines. He was a big advocate for breastfeeding, because by now there's formula and powdered milk, other things you can start using to feed children. And he was a big advocate for supplements, doing away with, either doing away with or certainly limiting nicotine and caffeine. He wasn't really a big fan of milk, didn't like sugar, as I mentioned. And some folks think he was a vegetarian. He actually kind of denounced vegetarianism, but he definitely advocated much more of kind of the food pyramid approach to diet. And essentially on all these fronts, he was 100% on the money. Here in my notes, the title of this next section, I titled, "Uh-oh, a big left turn." So now things go in a different direction. So many medical experts have called Riddell a bit of a quack, basically. Later on in life, he said that sugar could cause criminality. He blamed bronchitis and pneumonia on the consumption of bread. And he also thought that drinking Coca-Cola would make you sterile. He was against vaccines. So he would have just freaked out during COVID, and I'm sure advocated for beetroot, a vigorous walk, and a yogurt enema or something. Made numerous incredibly dubious claims about cancer. He wrote a book, came out in 1970, called "Happy People Rarely Get Cancer." And this is
Oh my God.
happy people rarely get cancer. And this is his quote. Don't get mad at me. This is his writing. He wrote, quote, "Negroes get less cancer than whites, for the Negro is a happy race. True, there is their problem of segregation, but the Negro race being what it is, I think a Negro sings just the same and is not going to let segregation dampen his spirits as much as a similar problem would do to the white person." Unquote. So, racism, reverse eugenics. I don't even know what to call that besides just utter nuts.
Mess. That's
Yeah, I mean, and I just have to say the word Negro makes my skin crawl almost as much as the N word. I mean, it's 90% there. Like, no, you can't. That's no bueno. He was, but by this time, incredibly suspicious of doctors and prescription drugs, and he kind of embraced and advocated dubious alternatives. There was a physician named Dr. Benjamin Sandler who had a pamphlet that was widely distributed in North Carolina called quote, "The Road to Polio Prevention," which advocated unprocessed vegetables and quote, "protective foods like meat, fish, and poultry." And that would halt polio because real healthy children do not get polio. And Riddell claimed that this diet caused cases of polio, at least in North Carolina, to drop off magically. He took 70 food supplements a day, and he was criticized even at the time for promoting all kinds of unsubstantiated claims about the benefits of supplements. There's a guy named Stephen Barrett of a group called Quackwatch. It commented that Prevention Magazine was filled with, quote, "nonsense promoting dietary supplements. Many articles contain therapeutic claims that would be illegal on product labels today." The Oxford Encyclopedia, of Food and Drink in America noted that the agricultural establishment at the time, by the late 60s or 1970, had, quote, "dismissed Riddell as a quack, a crank, a gadfly, and a manure pile worshiper," unquote. So start strong.
Okay.
Kind of fades here toward the end. So, and we go to sort of part 3. June 7th, 1971, Riddell goes on the Dick Cavett Show. At this point, he is 72 years old, I believe. Yeah, he was born in 1898.
Uh-huh.
And he's known as Mr. Organic, and he's sort of viewed as the elder statesman of the organic food trend. And he gushes about all the benefits of his diet, saying he'd never felt better and that he had, quote, "decided to live to be 100. They go to a
okay. All right.
You see it coming, don't you?
Yeah, I've just figured. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
They go to a commercial break. The second guest comes out, and Riddell slides down or moves over to the next chair. Cavett starts interviewing his second guest, who's a journalist of some sort, and hears from the other end of the couch a noise that kind of sounds like a snore. The audience kind of laughs a little bit, thinking that Riddell is joking, pulling a prank. Cavett asks, "Are we boring you?" Then looks over at Riddell's, quote, bloodless pallor and gaping mouth and realizes that Riddell is dead. He had died of a heart attack right there on the set of the Dick Cavett show, or perhaps died. I mean, 911 was called, or emergency medical folks were called, and he's taken off the set. And I believe in one of the things I read, there is a hospital across the street, I think, in New York City, but dies essentially right there. The Dick Cavett show goes on until I'd forgotten this. I used to watch the Dick Cavett show when I was a kid like crazy. He was on the air until 2007. And he indicated that an average of 20 or so people every year since it happened would ask about it and would walk up and say things like, quote, I couldn't believe the look on your face when you realized he was dead. And Cavett always responds by saying, really, how could you have? Because no one has ever seen this footage. It never aired. No, it was not distributed. No one ever saw the footage of this happening. Even Katharine Hepburn came on the Dick Cavett show like 2 years later, and that was her first question as well. Was I was blown away. How did you feel about that? I remember watching your face when it happened, and Cavett had to say to her, "No, you didn't. You never saw it. It didn't happen." So this is, I feel like we may have talked about this or touched on this in a previous episode. This is another example of the Mandela effect, which is this mass delusion where lots and lots of people are convinced that event that they witnessed either in person or on TV, event X, when having witnessed it is completely impossible. It's Wilt Chamberlain and the 100-point game, even though that game was not on TV, and the game was played out in Hershey, Pennsylvania. But there are tons of people who claim that they watched this footage and know this footage.
Or they were there at the stadium, and the number of
Right.
people who claimed they were there could not possibly fit in the arena. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because it's like 3,000 people on a Tuesday night out in the middle of fucking right. Anyway, just an interesting window into this man's life and his death, and I just thought it was a kind of a cool double-sided story a little bit, and an interesting take on the fact that even now there are folks who are convinced that they saw this footage. No, you didn't. And poor guy died on TV, but happily it wasn't like live television.
Well, it's also that weird circular vision where people of completely opposite political alignments will find something in common, right? Where they're like, well, I hate vaccines. So do I. I hate the way they're making us do it. So do I. I don't like people of other races. I'm sorry, what? Where they're
Pardon me, who?
Yeah, where people of extreme, and that's when of course you realize that all politics is a circle, and eventually at some point everything touches back around on the other side, and it's all this kind of circle of, I don't want to say crazy, but
right.
You go to one extreme far enough and you're going to find yourself on the other side, I guess. Yeah. Yes, I didn't obviously recognize this name, but to be that far out ahead of the curve in terms of organic farming in the 40s, I mean, what a lonely place to be.
Yeah, there were some other advocates. I mean, so by the time the 60s rolled around, it was beginning to take hold, and so he had some sort of partners in arms a little bit. But his extreme views, his quackery views, I think undermined him a certain extent. But I think it's the Riddell Institute. I mean, his name is still out there. When he dies on the show, one of his children takes over his work basically, and it's still out there, and there's still people working under his name under that umbrella to this day, advocating for all these same causes. So it's interesting.
And Quack Watch is a great name for that's awesome. That could be a
yeah.
They had to fight
have to Google that too.
They had to fight a bunch of Audubon members to the death for the right to use that name.
All right.
No,
So-
we want to use it.
So sources, I had two good sources on this. New Republic, August 2014, article titled "The Bizarre Life and Death of Mr. Organic," and then Yahoo Entertainment, March of 2018. Articles actually titled "No, you never saw a guest die on the Dick Cavett Show, but it did happen." And then Wikipedia for a few odds and ends. So there you have it, Jerome or Dale.
Very cool, Bryan. And yeah, that's an interesting guy. I'd never heard of that. And we'll have to come up with a term to describe what you're doing there with this double shot of my crazies love. I don't know what we would call that segment.
Yeah, something like that.
And it also leads quite nicely into the curse word of the week.
Okay, hit me.
It's time for the Dream Idiot's curse word of the week.
Bryan, the curse word of the week is hornswoggle. It's a verb.
The verb to hornswoggle.
Hornswoggle. Mm-hmm.
Hornswoggle.
Hornswoggle. Hornswoggle.
Hornswoggle. So German or Nordic. To hornswoggle. So those Nordic horns that they blow to hornswoggle. That's when you're that's when you're swaddling your horn after you're done playing it. I don't know.
Well, it originates most likely from 19th century America, right here in the United States, possibly the Kentucky region. And it may have to do with the head movements a cow will make to escape when its horns have been lassoed. Right? If a cowboy's lassoed its horns and you're trying to get that under control, it means to deceive or cheat someone or to perpetuate a hoax. To hornswoggle, to deceive or cheat, as in through his lies and mountains of bullshit, George Santos hornswoggled the electorate.
Yeah, that rings a bell now, actually. Yeah. I like it, though.
It's like something Yosemite Sam would say. I'll be hornswoggled.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Varmint. So there's our curse word of the week of American extraction, hornswoggle, a verb. Hornswoggle. Don't find yourself hornswoggled. And now we roll into my story for the week. And since you've started a new category here with yours, let's go back to one of my old favorites. It's a good one. Ultima Verba Part 3.
Oh, nice. Okay, I love these.
Last words. Now, you recall last time, or you may not, I don't know, your let's face it, your memory is shot. No, I'm kidding.
Who are you?
Yeah. Who am I? Why am I here? You really rolled through the last time we did it. I think you got 10 or 11 of the 13 the last time we did it. So I will give you the last words and a little info, and you'll see if you can figure out who said these final words. The final words spoken by this British musician, seconds after being shot, the final words were, "I'm shot. I'm shot."
Seconds after being shot.
British musician, December 8th, 1980.
Oh, John Lennon.
John Lennon. Yes, it's very good. This American actor on 30th of September, 1955, to the passenger in his car, moments before a fatal car crash, was said to have said, "That guy's got to stop. He'll see us."
What year?
1955.
Shit. I know this. Giant Dean. Fuck. Dean Kane. Howard Dean. No, Dean. Shit. How am I spacing on this name? I can picture him.
Dame Edna.
Fuck.
Denim jeans.
Dame Edna. James Dean.
James Dean. That is correct.
I did. Dean. I knew. I was like, shit. Okay.
That's right. Of course, he made Giant and Rebel Without a Cause and East of Eden, a trio of great films before he was killed in that car wreck in his cursed car. The guy who crashed into him, do you know what his name was?
No.
Donald Turnipseed.
Hmm.
Yeah, not spelled turnip like the root vegetable, but turnip like turn that card up. Turnip seed, one
Huh.
word. Yeah, Donald Turnipseed. Number 11. Another American.
Number 11. Wait, this is number 3.
Well, I mean, I'm going down backwards. So I'm counting down to 1. So counting backwards. Number 11. Mother, I'm going to get my things and get out of this house. Father hates me and I'm never coming back. American musician said that on April 1st, 1984.
Father hates me, not never coming back. 1984. Oh, Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye, that's right. Very good, Bryan. All right, you're 3 for 3. Counting down to number 10. This American outlaw's final words just before being shot. Wow, we got a theme going on here. On July 14th, 1881, his final words were allegedly, "Quien es? Quien es?"
1881.
Mm-hmm.
Billy the Kid.
Billy the Kid.
Yep.
AKA Henry McCarty, AKA William H. Bonney, just before being shot by Sheriff Pat Garrett. Billy the Kid, his first language was really Spanish. He grew up in the New Mexico area. Well, he was born elsewhere, but he spent a lot of time in New Mexico. So, in all likelihood, that was his last set of words there. Who is it? Who is it in Spanish? All right. Bryan, number 9, counting down. November 20th, 1975. This Spanish military officer, his final words were, as he was dying of heart failure and Parkinson's disease, "My God, how hard it is to die."
Well, just because of the time, the obvious guess is Generalissimo Francisco Franco.
That is correct, and he is still dead. He is still dead.
75. Okay, okay, obvious. I wouldn't have guessed otherwise, but
this American frontiersman's final known words came in March 6th, 1836. His last known words were, "Damn, did no one lock the back door?"
That's got to be a joke, right? Is that a joke? That's not a joke?
It is. Who do you think it is?
Davy Crockett.
It is Davy Crockett.
Right.
And it is a joke.
Okay.
Yes. It actually, no one knows what his last final words were, but I suspect it was something like,
"Oh, fuck."
Yeah, here they come.
Right.
It was actually in a letter to his about two months or so before he died at the Alamo in San Antonio. He had written a letter to his daughter and his son-in-law, that was dated January 9th of 1836. And it said, "Do not be uneasy about me. I am among friends. I will close with great respects. Your affectionate father, farewell." Those were his last written words. And that was one of my gag lines. So that one doesn't count, but you did get it right. Okay.
Yeah. Whenever I think of Davy Crockett, I always think it's a small crime that there is Crockett High School in Austin. If you drive by it, you'll see that the sign actually says David Crockett.
Oh, that's wrong. Yeah.
That's right. It's like, you should change that. That's not right.
Yeah, that's not right. This American writer, cartoonist, humorist, and essayist's final words as he was dying of a stroke came on November 2nd, 1961. And his final words were, "God bless. God damn."
1961.
Mm-hmm. American writer, cartoonist, humorist, essayist. He's shown up on our podcast before.
60. I think I'm stumped on this one.
You want a hint?
Sure.
He did his writing, cartooning, humoring, and essaying for The New Yorker.
Love the New Yorker. I'm not sure that helps though. Shit, I don't know.
James Thurber.
Oh, I should fuck. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now I had to consult for this one. Um, this person's final words were, and if you don't get the exact name right, that's okay because I mean, impress the shit out of me and know the name. If you can just tell me who you think this is, because this is an image I know you've seen before. Final words were, I apologize. I'm doing my best. These aren't the final words, but I'm doing my final. Excuse the pronunciation, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Namo Ayida Fuk, which translates to homage to Amitabha Buddha. And these words were spoken 11th June, 1963. Namo Ayida Fuk.
But by who? I mean, what was the preface to that?
They were spoken 11th June, 1963.
By I mean, there's no context you're giving me at all.
That's the only one I'm going to give you right now, and I'll give you the next step as a hint.
Um, 60. It's not Mousy Tongue. He died later. Yeah, I don't know.
This was just prior to this person taking their own life. It's an image you would
Judy
recognize.
Garland. No.
Nope.
I'm assuming it's that Buddhist monk, the self-immolation
Yes, that is who it is.
steps of the Pentagon. No,
No, it was actually in Vietnam. A Vietnamese Mahayana Buddhist monk by the name of Thi Quang
Yeah,
Duc.
yeah, an awful image.
Yes, it is. It's one of those images. The images I remember the most from the Vietnam War are that the guy getting shot in the head in the middle of the street, and the little girl running down the street with her clothes on fire, and she's torn them off
Right.
because of napalm.
God bless America.
I did some consulting for, and I hope I did that right. Thank you, Lauren, for your help with that pronunciation. All right, we're down to number 6. The ladies have to go first. Get into the lifeboat to please me. Goodbye, dearie. I'll see you later. Spoken by American business guy who was drowned or crushed to death, April 15th, 1912.
American business guy. So that's definitely Titanic, but I can't think of any names of people I know that died on the Titanic. So I don't know.
American business guy. That was John Jacob Astor Jingleheimer Schmidt. John Jacob Astor. John Jacob Astor.
His full Christian name.
John Jacob Astor Schmidt. Yes, those are the final words that people reflect that he spoke to his wife as she was getting onto a lifeboat. And then there's all kinds of stories about him making this valiant stand and like,
right.
You know,
Which
cracking a joke like, I asked for ice in my drink, but this is ridiculous. And people like knew him were like, he didn't make jokes. He didn't like jokes. He didn't think, yeah. But he was.
Is there a diving board?
Yeah, he was instrumental in getting women and children into lifeboats. That is for sure.
Right.
A lot of folks say he was doing that. Okay, number 5. Again, counting down. This Irish novelist passed away January 13th, 1941, owing to complications to ulcer surgery. Cutting someone open for ulcers in 1941. This person's final words were, "Does nobody understand?"
(1941) Irish. The Proclaimers. No. Sinead O'Connor. I have no idea.
Wrote 2 of the great novels in the English language. Great short story writer.
Mark Twain. No, I'm spacing it.
He appears on the cover of the Pogues album, If I Should Fall from Grace with God. Does that help?
No, I was never a Pogues fan.
Shame on you, Bryan. James Joyce.
No.
James Joyce.
Okay, yeah.
And if you've ever tried to read Finnegan's Wake, you know why that. Well, no, nobody does, James. No one understands Finnegan's Wake. I love his short stories, by the way. And I remember I went on a very long trip with my father in the middle of nowhere, and I said, I'm finally going to read Ulysses, and I did. And I
Really, God,
yeah,
good on you.
yeah, good. Yep, it was the one book I took with me.
Like 1,200 pages long.
I don't remember. Here's the good one. Number 4. Spoken by a philosopher, a scientist, a mathematician who died on February 11th, 1650 of pneumonia. My soul, thou hast long been held captive. The hour has now come for thee to quit thy prison, to leave the trammels of this body. Suffer then this separation with joy and courage.
Isaac Newton.
No, it's a good guess. This person was concerned very much with dualism, separating the mind from the body, the soul from.
Isaac Hayes. No.
Hey, sexy soul.
I'm shit. Yep, you got me. No idea.
That was Rene Descartes' final words.
Okay.
Remember Rene Descartes?
Yeah.
He was a drunken fart. He was very rarely stable.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number 3. This was spoken by a baseball player just before boarding a plane on New Year's Eve, 1972. Si vas a morir, morirás. Which
Roberto
translates
Clemente.
Yes, you're right. If you're going to die, you're going to die. Just before he boarded that plane bound for Nicaragua to help out the folks in the earthquake.
It'd be funnier if the true answer was Thurman Munson, but you know.
Good Lord. All right. This writer and publisher's final words, July 16th, 1977, were, "What's the worst that could happen? I'm a Kennedy."
1977?
1997.
1997. Oh, Ted Kennedy?
No.
No. I'm a Kennedy. JFK Jr.?
Yes. Those are not his final words, Bryan. That's my second gag for the 13. His final words were actually pretty final known words, at least, were broadcast to the control tower at Essex County Airport in New Jersey, and they were 5-3 November 222, which was clearing the tower to take off. There, that awful day in July of 1997. Number 2. So we're down to the last 2 here. This essayist, philosopher, transcendentalist, and subject of many UIL one-act plays died on May 6, 1862, and his final words were, "Moose, Indian."
Indian. I don't know. 1862?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got me, I think. Give me a hint.
Friend of the pod, Bill S., really couldn't stand this guy. He took a course where they kind of tore his essays apart, as I recall. There's a very famous pond where this guy hung out for a while.
Oh, Thoreau?
Thoreau. Henry David Thoreau. Yeah. His final words were apparently "Moose, Indian."
Huh.
Yeah. And of course, the subject of many UIL one-act plays was
right. Oh, yeah.
owing to the fact that the night Thoreau spent in jail was always on the playbill. And number 1, This Welsh actor, heavy drinker, and Dutch ovener extraordinaire died of an intracerebral hemorrhage August 5th, 1984, and his final words were, cribbed from Shakespeare's The Tempest, "Our revels are now ended."
Richard Burton.
Richard Burton, that's right. Welsh actor, heavy drinker, and if rumors are to be believed, why Liz Taylor divorced him is because he liked to fart in bed and hold her head under the covers. Dutch ovener Richard Burton. Do you remember hearing that rumor that that's why they got divorced?
No, but that's grounds for divorce. I mean,
looking back on this list, I thought this one was going to be a bear because I picked some pretty obscure ones. So I've got to get a fresh list together if we do this again. I also noticed that there were no women on this list. So I will rectify that. Yeah, I know. I felt bad about it when I looked over it again. I will rectify that for future ones. But there you go. Ultima Verba Part 3, the last words of notable people with a couple of very inappropriate jokes thrown in there for good measure. So
nice.
There you have it.
Very cool. Thank you. Oh, and my score was what? How many?
Well, let's see. We did pretty good. Let's see. You got John Lennon. You got James Dean, Marvin Gaye, Billy the Kid, Francisco Franco. I'm not going to count Davy Crockett. You didn't get James Thurber. You got the Monk. So you missed Thurber. You missed Astor. You missed James Joyce. You didn't get Descartes. You got 8 out of 13.
Yeah, okay.
No, you got Thoreau. You did get Thoreau. So you got 9 out of 13.
8 or 9.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Say.
I got to I was running these past the family, and for Richard Burton I got to Welsh actor, heavy drinker, and Dutch ovener, and my wife was like, Richard Burton. I mean, she knew what was coming next. I didn't.
Yeah, I almost said it after Welsh actor, but I I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, who else would it
be? Yeah.
Tom Jones. No. All right. There you have it. Another one in the books.
Woohoo. Thanks for listening as always, folks. Thank you to my partner across the Zoom meeting here for being here every week with us. And as always, be good to each other.
Bye.
This is a Rough Tiger production.
Bong bong. Bryan.
Bong bong?
Bong bong.
Bong bong. Good.